All right. So I have here, and Jeff, by all means, this is a tool that you can take back to your students, kind of as they're creating with as well. Um, we know that there's so much content out there on the web. We have awesome resources from YouTube. Teachers are using Khan Academy in a way to differentiate the way that they're teaching and kind of have Sal Khan present the ideas that they might not have been able to communicate to their classes. There's great simulations from a tool called FET out of Colorado, games on IXL. But a lot of these resources are, as standalone resources, don't really connect to overall learning concepts that you as a teacher might want to present or reteach or pre-teach to your students. So with the power of Gooru, what you can do is take all of this open educational resource, this content that's out there on the web, and link them together into what we call playlists, or collections rather, that are simply learning playlists for you to assess what your students are knowing, get them to take ownership of their learning by checking, what they know themselves, and then going on and continuing that study. And in our work and our work with Paul and Mike in our collaborations, we've really seen teachers take this into their classrooms and hand it over to the students and let the students be in that making and that creation process. And so at the end of today, I'd love to share out and hear your thoughts and what a tool like Gooru has on the implications of your classroom and what you can do. And then kind of our last ask and mission moving forward is supporting Guru's mission by going and building a collection, teaching it to your students, and then sharing that feedback with us. We'd love to know what's working and what you'd love to see. So I'm going to jump over to a new tab. And Paul, I always do this check. Can you guys see my screen okay? And we're jumping into our new landing page. Can you see it, Jeff? Is it all looking good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this actually is going to change next month. This upcoming Monday, we're going to have a new landing page, kind of in one of our next releases that will still feature teachers' collections, but showcase the range of content across the board in Gooru. And at the center of that is this kind of search tool right here. So if I want to be thinking about something that I might be teaching, recently we had this beautiful blue moon here, the full moon out here in California, and so I might be looking up something like the moon, or I might think I'm going to be looking to dig a little deeper into the phases of the moon. So here we have our first page of Gooru resources, the ones that have been viewed the most and come up the most. I see here I have a video on phases of the moon, and I can go and I can click on that image and preview this collection. This resource, excuse me, to see if it aligns to my objectives that I'm teaching this week. So I can click play. So we have a history channel. I might jump. What's the noise there? We see that the video really gets going
for centuries.
15. And if I like this resource, I can take it and I can add it by simply clicking this plus button. And I can either drop it into an existing collection of all my collections that are there, or I can create a new collection. So for the sake of this demo, I'll create a new one and call it Phases of the Moon. And I'm going to call this 6th period, because my 5th period class, I'm going to tweak it a little differently. So I'll make this a 6th grade lesson under astronomy. And lastly, I have this visibility setting here. This is a crucial function to pay it forward, so to speak, because every bit of content that you create in Gooru can be made public for others to search and discover, to take and iterate upon in their classroom. And kind of a conversation we had recently was that we need to be thinking of our work, and as Gooru is still beta and kind of working constantly to improve our tool to meet teachers' needs, that we as teachers can think of our work as beta as well, and that it can be improved upon. And we do that naturally as teachers. We come back to our work and we improve upon it, making it more relevant, more timely for our students. So think about that as you're sharing and creating in Gooru, that you can always revisit it and build upon it, and that others can do the same. You can also just keep it shareable with a link if there's sensitive information. If you're using a Google Doc, for example, and you don't want your Gmail account spread out there to the wide world, you can make it just shareable to your class. And you can also keep it private. And I'll make this collection public, and I'll click OK. And I'll double click OK, and I'm just going to move this camera, and I'm going to X out of my preview there. And I can come back and scroll back to the top. You also notice over here, Jeff, this is a recent addition, that we have filters. You can filter by resource type within Gooru. And currently we host 9 resources, from videos, websites, interactives are games or websites that students can click through and interact with. Questions, we've pulled in over 1 million state exam questions from across the world and deliver them in forms of multiple choice. And we've also added a feature recently where you can add a question to your collection. We have slides that have been uploaded. If you have a Google presentation and would like to upload that to Gooru, you can do that as well, and just categorize that under slides. We have open source textbooks, mainly from CK12, handouts, lessons, exams. We can also filter by source. So if I want to look at NASA specifically, I can click NASA and filter resources only from NASA. So I can then go down and preview that I see NASA has this really cool resource on the surface features of the moon. And if I like that, I can just simply also drag that over to my collection for phases of the moon, 6th period. You see it's being added. We could filter by subject, by grade level, and come back here to this. I'm going to filter. I'm going to see if I can add an interactive resource. So origins of the moon, moon phases. I'm going to preview this one, moon phases. And see we have some resources in Spanish as well, and over here in English I see that I have a little interactive, and I might be able to adjust these things if I play with it and see that I can look at, depending on where the Earth is at to the moon, that's where you'll see the various phases of that. So if I like that, again, I can add that by dropping it into my 6th period phases of the moon collection. And good to go. Any questions there before I kind of go on? That kind of the idea of building a collection.
No,
Jeff,
no.
you feeling good?
But,
All right. Anyone feel free to chat in as well. Kristen and Andrew are on the other computer and can respond to chats. If you can make sure that you chat everyone so that everyone can see the question and we can get some discussion going around it in just a bit. So this is the process of building from within the resources that you find in Gooru. We're at about 12 million free and open resources from the web. But we know that as teachers, you're spending hours and hours of your time creating your own material, specifically tailoring it to your students. And we want to be able to give you the ability to upload that and create your kind of lesson plan digitally and bring it online, shareable with your colleagues, shareable with your students, to their parents, to your admin, to the greater community at large. So I have here the basis of three resources, but I might want to go in and add a resource from the web. And I know that I might want to see what's out there in Google on the phases of the moon. And I'm going to do an advanced search and search for it as a PDF. So I'll check out this first resource, Phases of the Moon PDF. And this looks like it's a presentation by Edward Murphy, Space Science for Teachers. And if I like this, I can copy this URL and jump back to the Gooru tab and go ahead and paste that into Gooru. And I would click that it is a slide, and I could put a title to it, Phases of the Moon. And I might say this is teacher facing, maybe something that my students might not comprehend. I can upload an image, or I can preview if there's a thumbnail for that. And then I can click add. Looks like my title didn't catch. Phases of the Moon. And now I'll just go ahead and add that resource from the web. So if you have your own PowerPoints that you've created, You can add them from Google Docs. It's a great way that you can bring things in. There's another
Oh,
tool.
okay.
There's another tool out there that we always love to plug. I don't think it was designed specifically for educators, but it's called Crocodoc, Crocodc, and it allows you to, thank you, collaborate and the students can edit and highlight text in real time. So Guru is a place that's not just the search engine of 12 million resources, but it's really a platform for you to build and create digital content and for your students to do the same. I can add questions. I'm going to click this Add a Question tab. And currently we support multiple choice questions and true-false. And I could add an image to it. I can add a kind of a funky question. Is the moon cool? And I might add an image. So I'm going to say, yeah, the moon's pretty sweet, especially when it's a full moon. And I can add that question in there. Just kind of insert it as a check for understanding. I can drop it right into the second place right after the video. Now, the next thing I'll show you is editing that narration.
So
Go ahead.
that's creating the I should say the pattern that they would look at it, or is this just the drop-off place?
That's a great question. So just to rephrase, Jeff's question was, if I put it into the second spot, is that the pattern? Is that the order in which the students would see the collection or that resource? And that's exactly right. When the students in preview mode, if we look at this out-facing, this is the link that the students would see. They can click either the study button to get started, but as we know, students always love to see what lies ahead for them. You know, you tell them to read the chapter, and they always count how many pages are in the chapter. So, similarly, this navigation function up here, they can click the navigation wheel and know that, okay, at this point there's 4 resources. So they could jump through.
Okay.
So you might say in your instructions, you guys have 3 videos here at the front. You could choose one of the 3, watch the one that appeals the most to you, and then answer this follow-up question right here.
Right.
But certainly the flow, when we create it in this order, it's that the students would first see this, then that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Okay, and a quick question.
Yeah.
If I wanted to type questions instead of talk, what am I doing? Oh, chat.
Yeah, so right up here, the sharing your desktop, you can click this chat button, and Andrew's been able to, and Kristen, to navigate that.
Okay.
And
thanks.
For the sake of our new users out there, and welcome, Terry. Great to see you here. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
I hope you're ready for the start of school.
I think they're already going.
Yeah, kids might be already there.
Yeah.
So I might be able to really drill down and say, Jeff, when you're doing your homework tonight, I want you to pay careful attention to the moon phase video section, or minute 232. I can customize this feature for my audience, for my students, and I can go ahead and update that. And what I can also do within Gooru is I can copy the resources that I've created. So you might say, well, why would I want a copy of that, Tim? Well, let's say this YouTube video is 10 minutes long. I might think, well, students' attention span is about 6 minutes at most with a video. And I might want to... Oh, I'm sorry. We're just about to jump to our iPad feature. And Kristen jumped the gun a little bit with taking over the screen.
Sorry.
Cool thing called AirPlay. But just the sense of copying that collection, I can go in and say, I want this video to start at minute 5 and end at minute 7. And between those 2 minutes, I want you to answer this question right here. And then I'll go back in and have the video play the remaining minutes, and I'll insert another question. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It's really for being able to edit the video and that feature accordingly. So, and you could do that again in the edit narration function, and then copy that or go in and edit that info accordingly. So I've kind of shown you the building process of taking resources from Gooru, of adding questions, of adding your own resources. There's another function that we can show you quickly around sharing those. How can I share those? I showed you this public setting where you can go to the Gooru search tab up here and type in phases of the moon, 6th period, and I can see Tim's work. But then I can also take this URL shortener, bit.ly, and I can email this out to students with this new function. I can post it to Twitter. I can post it to a Facebook page. And lastly, I can take this embed code, and I can embed this code into a website. If I'm using a learning management system tool like Haiku, for example, or Edmodo, or Google Sites, for example, I can take this code and embed that in, and the Gooru collection would appear cleanly and beautifully into that site. So that's a new functionality as well. Lastly, again, you can assign it to students in this way too. This assign button is related to this tab called Teach. And Teach is this pretty simple learning management system tool that we built so that if teachers don't have another learning management LMS tool, that they can assign this collection to their students who might not have an email address. So I clicked on this button, Teach, and I see here I have a class page that I created by clicking this button called the 6th period. I'm going to open that. And now I'm going to add a new assignment into the 6th period class. I'm going to call this reteach on moon phases. And I'm going to put a due date on that my students get it studied by next Thursday. And I can put in specific directions. Be prepared for a short quiz, or be prepared for a Socratic seminar on why you think the moon changes phases, for example. And then I can go ahead and add a collection to that assignment. So I'd go in and put in my phases of the moon 6th period. And I'll click Add. And now I have here this class page of all 6th grade stuff. Go ahead.
Is it best to create your own collection, then pull it in, or can you do it web? I mean, do you have to create your own collection, then pull from there?
That's a great question. So with the class page functionality, it currently only supports collections created in Gooru. I couldn't just pull a URL and say, here's a New York Times article, click on it and do this work. We have to kind of go through the Gooru player. But that's some great functionality. That's a great suggestion, and that's certainly something that our product team's open to hearing, that exact type of feedback.
But if I was just curious. I mean, you guys are doing the tough stuff.
No, it's great. We want to make it work for how you teach. So I clicked this last button here, and this is the Study tab. If a student were to come to Gooru and didn't have an account, they can click Study, and they could enter a class code. And I'm sorry I didn't show you that class code there. The student view, I would open this, and I would share this with students in the same way, again, with a bit.ly or this class code that I could write on the board. Or I can email it out to them. And when they come to study, they would just click and access that class code directly and click Enter, and they're led right into all of the work I've assigned them for 6th period. So that's a great simple tool, and that actually is going to blend into this iPad app, and that it's currently released in the iPad store recently as of last week. One more function that I think Terry and Mike, you might not have seen, is now if I click on this username here, A. Wyndham, this is Andrew's account, I'm led into a profile page of all of my public collections, all the collections that I want to go and share. So Mike, if I work with you and I know you've done some great stuff, and you said that you would take this fractions unit and I would do next month's polynomials unit, I can go to your page and find your stuff, and I can click on it, and I can just simply click the plus button, and now I've made a copy for myself. that I can iterate upon, and I can customize it for my students. This profile page is also shareable via a link, Facebook, Twitter, and email. Hopefully soon we'll get some functionality like Google Plus on there, but really cool way to just kind of create a library, so to speak, publicly of your work. So I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions that you guys had before I hand it over to Kristen to walk us through the iPad app?
The profile page, is that the collaboration aspect, or is that another piece that's coming?
That's a great point. We pulled the old collaboration button, and Paul and I are like championing this every day at our product meetings. And I channel Paul in my ear and you. Collaboration is on hold until around. Really? Okay. For some time, for the potential of the entire semester, and the workaround, there's a few, and I missed the workaround. You can find the work here, and you can add it, and then remix it, and then make it public again, and that's probably the safest way. You can also have teachers create like a curriculum specialist account, and so they all have access to that account. And then just log in under the same name.
Well, this is easy workaround too this way. So. Okay.
Cool. Great. Well, I'm going to be here along with Andrew chatting in, and I'm going to hand it over to Kristen to walk us through how Class Pages works with the iPad.
Great. Yep. All right, over to Kristen.
Hi guys.
Thank you.
I finally got to be using live view. Sorry about that before. It accidentally kind of just turned on. So I'm going to be introducing you to the Gooru app on the iPad, and like Tim mentioned, in the Teach tab on web, there's a way for you to start assigning collections to your students. And obviously students can view that material on the web, but if students have their own devices, or if you're using iPads in your classroom, you can also use the app to deliver your content. And the advantage of the app is that it's a little bit more focused. It's kind of using the student scenario as the main use case right now for the app. So like Tim mentioned, you can open the app, and the first thing you're prompted to do is to enter a class code. So that kind of 5 to 6 digit code that you'll find with each class page that you create. You can write that on the board, you can email that, and then your students can type it in here. So here I'm going to enter a class code for Algebra 1. It's pretty simple. They just type in the class code, and then they'll be able to receive all the assignments in your class page. So here you can see that there's 4 assignments here. The first one is the semester review, so that's the most recent one that you would have added to your class page. And like to mention, you can enter in directions for your class. So here it would be to review these 3 collections for the semester. So I'm going to open up this collection called Multi-Step Equations. And actually, before I do that, on the right side, you'll be able to track how many views your collection has gotten. So this will help you kind of keep track of, how many people are actually viewing this, how many of your students are actually looking at your collections. And then if you go in, you'll see that the first video shows up here. And then up top, you'll be able to see 5 different reactions. And this helps you to get feedback about the resources in your collection. So as a student, they can go through this video, and then afterwards, they can mark from a scale of really being able to explain this to someone, really understanding the material, all the way down to they need help. And then reactions can also be turned on and off at any time. So I'll just say, I understand. The next resource you'll see is a website. So again, basically most of the materials you'll see on the web, you'll see here. One exception might be Flash content. So that's something to watch out for, obviously on the iPad, since Flash isn't supported. Maybe you're not really that into textbooks, so you'll kind of choose that middle option. And then at the very end, you'll be able to see all the reactions from your students, and in addition to kind of the breakdown of the resources again. And right now it says share this collection, so you can share this out in the future. The idea is that you'd be able to share the summary page, so if a student were to come here, get to the end, see the results, they would be able to share this with you as well in the future. And then I'll just show you an example of a quiz. So being able to view questions on your iPad. Again, it's very similar to what's on the web. You have hints here and also an explanation. And then similar experience. This quiz is kind of long, so we'll kind of skip to the end. And with quizzes, you'll be able to see, again, the number of questions you got right out of the total here. And then if there's ever any question that you would want to go back to, you just click on the resource thumbnail and you're taken out right back there. I have one more example I'd like to show you, and it's regarding the narration of the collection. So kind of your own like personal voice of your, I guess, the narration that you're leading through your collection. And I need to look up the class code for that one.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I wonder, as Kristen's pulling that out, what do you guys think about this idea of, so the reactions will hopefully go and inform the quality of that resource, with the reactions that are most favorable then influencing the search engine to push those resources to the top. And would you as educators want to know a difference between a student's reaction and a teacher's reaction?
Between a student and a teacher?
So I guess the question is, a lot of teachers will ask, like, how do I know this resource that I find is high quality? How do I know that this is something that's right for my classroom? So one way that people have suggested along the way is being able for teachers who've already used this resource or looked at it before to leave some comments for the next teachers who come along. Say like, this is high quality resource. So far we don't have any features like that are just targeted at teachers to let teachers leave notes for other teachers. We sort of have these social features like a thumbs up, thumbs down you might have seen, or those reactions that Kristen was just showing, which are intended for students. And that can also be, a student's reactions to that resource could also be an indication of the quality of the resource, but we were wondering whether or not, we've been playing around with this idea of having two types of feedback, one for students to give and one for teachers to give.
Right. Or the ability just to see the likes or the reactions based on profile, like whether you're a student or a teacher or even a parent.
So you guys can mull that over. I think Kristen's got another class page she wants to show us.
Yeah, so I don't know if you were paying attention while Andrew's asking the question, but as a teacher you can also log into your account and then you'll be able to see all the class pages that you've created on Gooru as well. So you're also able to use the app in addition to your students. And the final thing, like I said, I wanted to show you was an example of narration and how that kind of renders on the iPad. So as a student, you can come in, and then if you view a collection here, the pyramids, you'll be able to see your narration show up on top of the video. So whatever kind of notes or tips you want your students to follow, that'll show up kind of over the resource. It kind of forces the student to read what you have to say and then dive into the resource after that. And one fun thing for students, to get them to kind of, read more, they can also kind of customize the way that their narration looks. So I won't choose something super atrocious, but you can kind of change the way that looks, and then if you go back into the collection, it'll be a little bit more, I guess, interesting for your students as they go through the collection.
All right. Cool.
So yeah, that's the iPad app, and it, like Andrew mentioned, it's in, and Tim mentioned, it's in the store right now. If you search for Gooru in the App Store, it's the only result. So feel free to check it out, and let me know if you have any other questions or ideas.
Yeah, thanks. And if you guys have any questions about the iPad app, feel free to ask them now. Thanks, Kristen, for showing us that.
Yeah, of course.
That's like totally brand new. That's just, what, 2 weeks old?
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
you guys are some of the first people to see that, so that's pretty cool. As Kristen mentioned, that right now is pretty student-focused, but we're slowly expanding some of the things that you can do with iPads.
Yeah, so some of the things I mentioned, for example, are being able to kind of have your students send their, collection summary reports back to you. Reactions is also something that's unique to the iPad and kind of this immersive narration experience as well. Yeah.
So happy day for everyone with iPads, which I know isn't everyone, but still pretty cool stuff. So that's a lot of the stuff we've been working on over the summer, as you can tell. I don't know if maybe some